me will always be tight. Memories every single day and night. Even when you start to acting like a fool, you know I'm loving every single thing you do.
Good morning, class. Welcome to the bottom of the third week. How's everyone doing? Good. Okay, great. Well, today we'll be discussing family history. Anybody want to volunteer, say a little about their family?
I do. My great-grandfather migrated to San Francisco during the gold rush in the 1840s when he was 13 with his family. Oh, where are we going? We're going to America. There's a gold rush right now. And we're going to go for a better opportunity. And then once we get money, we'll come back to China.
You don't belong here.
It's the middle of the 19th century. My family's name, Chan. My journey began on Angel Island just outside of Dafei, big city, San Francisco. I was a Chinese immigrant hoping to strike gold and return the wealth to the mainland, back to my wife and family. Coming here was not easy. Chinatown may have been our home, but this new country was not ours. Anglo-Americans weren't too fond of Chinese workers, especially miners. The Snake River Massacre killed 31 men just in one day, men of my own kind, from my own country. They were trying anything to get rid of us. They felt they were doing their country a favor. All this hardship and terror was worth pushing through, especially if it meant my family could live a more comfortable life back home. I wanted to bring them to Chinatown, but at that time, only Chinese merchants and students were allowed to immigrate. Those who returned to the mainland weren't allowed to come back. Chinatown living situations were already difficult. The amount of people allowed to live in an apartment was being enforced. Order 939, an ordinance from the city of San Francisco, went specifically after Chinese immigrants. The order demanded adequate room, 500 cubic feet of free space inside our living quarters, where sometimes men had a bunk on top of each other. These new laws made me lose confidence on seeing my family on U.S. soil, but I still had hope.
Hi, Dad. Hey, Dad. We miss you so much.
Wake up. We have to get some food for breakfast. It's too early for this.
Found some eggs. Here, take these to Mom. Okay, got it.
Our eggs, the chickens haven't laid many this year. We have to make supper for when your dad comes home.
But I don't want to cook.
We're gonna have to when you have a husband. Add the salt now.
Ow, you burned me.
Ooh, I can't believe Jane's gonna be 11 this year. I'm so happy she let me make her dress. Ooh, but this is such hard work. This is so.
So, Dad, how was your day at work today?
It was a long day at work. Mine isn't easy. But at the end of the day, it's worth it because I get to provide for you, your sister, and your mom.
We appreciate what you do, Dad.
Thanks, son.
This isn't the first time my father has sat me down to have these talks with me. It seems as though each time he forgets to ask what I want to do, how I want to spend my life. But it doesn't matter, because we're supposed to follow culture. We're supposed to do what our father tells us, and we're supposed to follow his path, because ideally we want to be just like him. But I stop and think, this isn't what I want to do. This isn't how I want to spend the rest of my life. I would love to be able to go to school. I would love to be able to learn about medicine. I would love to be able to be a doctor. But these are all things that I have to put in the back of my brain. These are all ideas that I have to just brush off as foolish and as ideas I could never possibly accomplish. Because as a father, he sets our path, and as a son, I follow that path. Maybe one day things will change, but for now, I listen, I nod, I agree, and I follow through.
Well, things here are different in America. As you got older, I thought this is the perfect time to give you a talk. In order to have a happy life, you keep your husband happy, you give me lots of grandkids, and be obedient to him.
While men face problems for being Chinese American, women face problems for being Chinese American and a woman, even in Chinatown. These women came from the patriarchal society and were brought up to be obedient. They were expected to serve their husbands and in-laws. There was a common belief that Chinese women should stay in their China villages, so those who did not had a tougher time in America. They were expected to serve their husbands when they got to America, so much so that some would even have their feet bound to the point where they became crippled, just so their husbands could make sure they did not stray too far from the house. Wives were mostly housebound because it was seen as improper for women to go out. Arranged marriages were common, but this was seen as easy as opposed to being in prostitution. Gangsters would roam the streets looking for poor parents to sell their daughters for as low as $50. Girls who were around the age of 6 were sold, while older girls were put into brothels. When women died, they were usually dumped in the streets rather than having a proper burial like the men had. Women could not turn to law enforcement because they were indifferent with these types of crimes, so many of them turned to the Protestant church. Here is where the missions were carried out to save Chinese women from these horrible conditions they lived in and slowly change their lives so that Chinese American women could be seen as equals.
Thank you for sharing, Destiny. Alright, class, now we're going to learn about research methods.